right? So we're going to start with the first and the most fundamental of all things. Before I work with anybody, this is the very, very first thing I'll do, is I will want to make them a category king, right? I want to create a category where they can be the only person in that space and be the only option, right? Because if you're like just another insurance agent, another property agent, another marketing agency, another psychotherapist, another image consultant, it's like, why do I choose you? You become a commodity, right? So I look at how much you're charging, and then I speak to other people, and then I compare. Do I like you more? Are you nice? It's like, there's so many options. But if you create a new category where you're the only person, you become the only choice. So what anybody here watch the pre-training for Category Kings? Right? Okay, cool. So I'm not going to go so much into the theory right now. I'm just going to show you guys actual Category Kings that we've created, and I'm going to walk you through the process of how we created them. Is that okay? Okay, so let me just define what a category is. So this is what I learned from the book Play Bigger. I think it might be the most important book that I've read in my life. And I've obsessed over this book, so I read this one book, and then I bought every other book by the Category Pirates. And in fact, I called my company Play Bigger Mentoring after reading this. All right? Because I was so inspired by this book. Like, I started to realize why creating demand is so difficult if I'm competing in someone else's market. Right? So what they teach in this book is that 80% of the market will be fighting for scraps, 20% of the market will be getting 80% of it. Right? So I thought really hard. And so this even comes down to, number one, how you position yourself. Number two, how you name your method. Right? So when I started coaching, and we did quite decent, right? Because we're good at selling. So every time we sell well. But I went to my coach, and when he asked, like, what is the name of your coaching program? I said, it's called 10X Mentoring. And he said, change your name. I paid this coach $100,000, by the way. He said, change your name. And I was like, why? Isn't 10X cool? He said, because 10X belongs to someone else's category. You know who that is? 10X, what the heck, man? That is an insult to 10X. You don't know who's the 10X? Grant Cardone. Yeah, not Melvin. Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone is a multi-billionaire. It's not that Melvin is not good, right? Melvin and Grant Cardone is different. Grant Cardone is at a different level. So Grant Cardone has a multi-billion-dollar business, and his training program, and his whole philosophy, his whole category is just called 10X. So back then, the category that he was in was like sales training, right? So he was fighting people like Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, and he came out doing sales training at the start, but it didn't do very well. So he changed it, and he's like, it's not about getting better at sales, it's just about being 10X, which means do 10X more calls, work 10X harder, and his enemy was work-life balance. So he went all in on 10X, he created this huge category, and then I thought that was a cool name, so I just adopted that name, right? I was like, when people ask me, what can you help me do? I said, I'll help you 10X. But that wasn't my category. That was Grant Cardone's. So if they really want a they'll be, so again, it's not my category. So that's when my coach said, change the name. And then I thought hard. Like, what should my name be? And then I started going back and I think like, oh, you know what? There's a lot of people that talk about selling, sales training, but there's nobody that talks about closing deals in one call. Right? And in fact, everybody talks about sales script, objection handling. Nobody talks about what happens before the call. Right? And I was just like, that is my category. That's where I can slot myself in. Right? And so we called it a one-call close. We quickly trademarked it. Right? So one thing that you guys can do is go trademark your names. Right? Go plant your flag and take it. Okay, so we've done this for a lot of things. I want to start walking you through. The moment you create a good category, even if your marketing, your ads are not as good, you can get away with it. Why? Because you're the only option. You are the only person to solve that problem. Right? It's like how, if we think about, if you watch the training, you know this, like why is it that now all of us use Netflix? Right? Because at that point, how we used to watch movies was we would wait for like 9 p.m. and then we watch our shows, right? So they called it appointment viewing, where there's a fixed time where you can watch shows. Or you have to go to the cinema. Netflix just came in and say like, that's not good. What you want to do instead is you want to watch anytime you want, right? You want to stream your shows. So they create a new category called movie streaming. And now the term for like when we watch series online, we don't say we watch series. We don't say we're going to watch series. We say we're going to Netflix. Right? So that's how they created a whole new category. So I took this principle, and then I started to apply it to everybody that I work with. How do I create a new category? So I'm going to give you guys an example. Okay, now this is Eric Feng. Anybody here knows who Eric is? Okay. Less than 50% of the room. Great, so more people know me. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so Eric is a professional speaker. And what he speaks on is branding. So when he first came to us, and he said, like, I have a branding program that I want to sell. How do we sell more of it? So at the time, this was about 3 years ago. I wasn't as savvy as I am now. I was like, yeah, we'll just sell to financial advisors how they can get more branding. We will show them that our branding works better than other people's branding, right? Which is some of you guys here, you feel like what I sell is better than my competition, right? So I thought like, okay, Eric, he's a professional speaker. He's got some stage photos. And if we position him as like the best branding coach, people would buy. That kind of makes sense, right? And so we sold an offer, the event ticket for about $200. And it flopped, right? So barely anybody bought. We had to refund the tickets and we just didn't do the event because it wouldn't make sense. And so we came back. Again, you see, Eric he's smart, right? He's not like binary or non-binary. Did it work? Did it not work? Didn't work, Caleb is a scam. He's like, oh, okay, now we know that this category didn't work. We are one step closer. So I sat down with him. I asked, like, what else can you do besides branding? Nobody wants branding, right? And we have a couple of people in branding in our community. Branding is a very, very tough space. In fact, I think branding is a very misunderstood word. But anyway, story for another day. So it's like, okay, what can we do that's different that we have no competition? And Eric, he said, like, I get paid like $10,000 a speech. Is that good? And I said, yeah, that's good. A lot of people will want to get paid $10,000 to speak. So why don't we teach people how to speak? And we both got excited about it. And we're like, okay, let's do it, right? But what's the problem? There is an existing category for public speaking. So if you look at this. So if you just Google public speaking, you will see there's public speaking course, Vertical Institute, Equinet Academy. What are those programs? These are public speaking courses with Skills Future. What does that mean? That means that if our competitors, if somebody wants to learn to speak publicly, they can go get it for free from one of these guys. So now, do I want to come in and say that Eric is better at public speaking than them? How much better? So our offer was $3,000, right? How much better does he have to be than the others in order to charge more than 1,000 times more because of the funding? It's not possible, right? So what they have to do, I have to take away that point of comparison. I have to make sure there is no way they can compare Equinet and Eric. Does that make sense to you guys? So that's called creating a new category. So how do we do it? We said, okay, we're not going to talk about public speaking. In fact, you know why? It's a red ocean. It's so difficult. Now look at this. Public speaking costs $300. We are 10 times more expensive. Can we beat that? Nah, we can't. What about this? $500. We can't compete. Then there's Vin Jiang. Vin Jiang is a superstar. You guys know Vin Jiang? Yeah? His stage academy is just $1,000. So I knew, like, okay, we got to be different. We cannot be. So again, the word is not this. We don't want to be better than our competition. We want to be different. We want to remove any point of comparison. So we turn this into a business program. Right? The message is now, how do you get paid $10,000 to $15,000 per speech as a global speaker? So I'm not here to teach you how to be a public speaker, because you can go learn from Equinet Academy and pay $300. But if you want to learn how to pay to speak, you don't have any choice but me. Now, when they come in, obviously we're going to teach them public speaking. We're going to teach them communications, right? But we anchored it around getting paid to speak. We anchored it around it being a business event. And that is how, when we start selling, we sell 3,000, and you go online, try to find a paid to speak cost. You can't find, because in fact, we just named the entire category get paid to speak. Then we trademarked it. But obviously, now you've got people copying again, right? So what happens is that when a category king comes up, you will grab all the market, and then the little minions will be like, oh, that sounds like a good market, and they'll try to copy you. But they will not do as well as the category king. Like, for just GPTs alone, we know there's 2 specific competitors that come out with their variations of get to speak. They use almost the same message, same name. None of them advertise heavily like us. Why? It's because every time somebody runs a get paid to speak, they will think like, is that Eric? That's not Eric. Oh, who the heck is this person? Right? And what that does is that it builds our brand as the main get paid to speak, because now all of them are running using our brand name. Does that make sense to you guys? So when you are able to create a new category and you can name it well, now every time your competitor try to fight you, they end up promoting you. So I did the same for the one call close, and then I started to have little one call closers coming up. Like now close with one call. I even had one person call himself one call closer king. It's like he ran ads for 2 weeks and that's it. He's not making any return on his money. Why? Because I've already planted its flag. So now this is where you want to think about how you can be a category king. How do you create something different? Okay. So you do not have to necessarily be like some crazy tech startup in order to create a new category, right? You could be a coaching program. You could even be a property agent or insurance agents and create different categories, right? So we'll show you more examples throughout the day, but I'll give you one more. So this is in the make money space. Oh wait, this is how we went from 20 people in the room, and then we just consistently sell out and out and out and out again, right? So this was great. We did $5 million in 2 years. We had a front end offer. And what we did was we increased $3,000 offer. At the start, we had great cost per acquisition. If I remember correctly, it was like maybe $600-700 to acquire a $3,000 client, right? So very profitable. So in one room, one weekend, we would make like $300,000. And eventually what we did was we added an upsell, right? Where some people wanted more personal time. And that's how we started doing like $500,000 per event. So category kings, right? I'll give you another example. This is Jenny's in the health space. Okay, who here is in the make money space where you help people make more money? Just a show of hands. Make more money. Why is everybody so shy? Come on, put your hands up proud. You should be proud, right? If you make people money. Who here helps people make more money? A show of hands. Okay, that's one. Everybody's still quiet now, but it's okay. You will warm up. Who is in the health space? You help people get healthier? Show of hands. Okay. So this is Jenny's. And Janice is a health coach. Right, so I'm going to show you how we created. In fact, Janice is in an MLM. I didn't even know about it right, until recently. Somebody told me. So Janice sells health supplements for gut health, right? So she sells like just a lot of different supplements, and people with gut health issues, with bloating, they go to her, and they pay her $200 per hour for consultation. And then she would sell them her supplements. So she wasn't really making any money. When she came in, and she was like, okay, what do we do? I was like, I can't help you scale selling more supplements. It's like you're not it's like $200 per consultation. Number one, you won't get a lot of clients. Number two is your margins are so low with the supplements, right? It's like, I think less than 50%. So what we did was I said, okay, now if you're just doing gut health, like that is not a category you can own. There is this guy in Singapore called Dr. Mark Leong, right? Who is doing detox. And it's like, you can't beat Dr. Mark. Right? He's great at what he does. He's too big already. Now, how do we find a different category? So I asked, like, okay, what are some of the problems that focusing on your gut helps? And then she was telling me, like, high blood pressure and all that stuff. And then finally she said eczema. And I was like, oh, eczema? There is nobody in Singapore who's like aggressively advertising on eczema, helping people address their eczema. Like everybody who's in eczema, they're like TCM, putting creams, putting steroid. Nobody talks about how it's a gut health issue. Right? I said, this is the category that you can own. Stop talking about gut health and talk about solving eczema. You use the same thing, but you solve a different problem. Does that make sense to you guys? So we want to take what we have, and if like everybody's solving this problem, what can we find the different problems to solve? Right? So that's what we did. These are her products, right? Like $95, $65. How do you make a lot of money with this? It's hard. It's difficult. Your customer acquisition cost would be super high. Right? This is our competition. TCM treatment for eczema, skin clinics for eczema, Oriental TCM. So what we say that the issue with the eczema is not actually your skin, it's your gut. Right? So we're telling people they have a problem that they didn't know that they have. And then we say the solution is to fix your gut. Right? And so this is the campaign that we created. And then it just took off for her. Right? Obviously, she had to fix her closing, she had to fix all the other process. But it was because she found the right category, which is gut health for eczema. She solved a different problem. She stopped talking about gut health. She talked about eczema. Right? I'll show a few more landing pages in the future, but I'll give you some examples. So example, we have one property agent, right? He's called Edmund. He's a millionaire agent. And there was a time where advertising was so easy, like 3 to 4 years ago. All you had to do was go online and say, I'll help you retire 5 to 10 years earlier, and everybody will come in like, oh my gosh, help me. Right? Do you guys remember seeing insurance and property ads like retire 5 to 10 years earlier? And so when he came in, I was like, we're not going to do that, right? We always want to create a different category. So what we did instead was, anyway, there's no point of you guys copying him because he would already be the category king. But what was instead, we focused on how the problem is that people buy new launch to stay in it, right? So we're saying that a new launch is a terrible forever home. It's an investment property, it's small as hell, nobody wants to stay in a new launch home. So what we market is that new launches are not meant to be stayed, they're meant to be used as investments. So you rent the place outside, and then you invest in a new launch. So we started running ads and tell people, don't stay in your new launch, don't stay in your new launch. Now people who want to make money, and they see another agent who's just talking about like regular investments, whereas now Edmund has a very specific plan for a very specific problem. People who want to make money. Does that make sense to you guys? All right, we did the same for a lot of very, very competitive industries. Right, so that's how you want to do it. Okay, so so Janice, she grew her business from 90K to 270K in a year. And the one thing I'm proudest of was like she's sending me the results of her clients. Right, so this is how her product really works. Like her clients, now the skin, like you can't even tell that boy had eczema. Then I felt like a good person. It's like, I just empowered a lady to help someone else. Right, but this is what business is all about. It's not just about making money. Is that if we are truly good at what we do, we get to change people's lives. And I can tell you, like, nothing feels more amazing when people take what you do and get the results that you want. Right? So, now I want to give you guys some time to work on your category. Okay, but are you guys learning something so far? Does this make sense to you guys? Now, this is where I want you guys to, I'm going to give you guys the exact step-by-step guide on how to create your category. But this is, I would say, is probably the most important thing in marketing, creating a category. Because again, if your category is not very good, if your category is good, even if your ads are not very good, you are not the best closer. It's like, it doesn't matter because you're the only person people can work with. Right, so I'm going to walk you guys through how to do it, but now I want you guys to rank yourself, rate yourself, right? Because again, we need to always understand our constraints, understand our challenges, and that's how we can improve. So number one, 0 to 2, if you are unknown in your space, you are offering something generic that sounds like everyone else. Nobody refers to you as the go-to expert. You are either maybe better than your competition, you're one of many. A few people may know you, but you still blend in with the competition, you're struggling to stand out or create separation in your niche. And you got to be honest with yourself. You picked a niche, you have some followers or referrals, but you still feel easily replaceable. You developed a clear messaging and a unique method. Right? So later we'll talk about a framework, right? How do you create a framework? How do you create a method that people would buy from you? Right? Have you created a message, a method? Now you are like the one in the space. And finally, you are the go-to expert. Like now you've got a branded framework, something that you can trademark. That's what people know you for. When people say like, oh, they say people recognize you as the person. Right? So if we talk about now, you want to speak, everybody think about Eric. Right? So that's where you want to be. Okay. So now I want you guys to take a moment, write down, we've got pen and paper for you. Write down where you are, because later we'll tell you all our scores, and then based on the scores, I'll tell you guys what to do or what you can fix. Okay, so let's take a minute to really think about where we are right now and score this. Okay, I'll go have a sip of water. Now, how many of you guys feel like you can do a lot of things for your clients? A show of hands. Like, you know that you can do more than one thing, right? Like, I can help. For example, I could do a lot of things, right? If you come work with me, what can I do with you? Firstly, I can fix your closing. Secondly, I could fix your ads. Thirdly, I could fix your team. Fourthly, I could work with you on leadership. Fifth, we could work with you to run webinars. Sixth, we can do events. We can do so many things. But if I go to the market and say I can do all things, people think I can't do anything. So that's why I choose to lead with one thing, which is closing, the one call close. And then you come in, and then I'll show you, so you see, when you have one big thing, which is why now I know you got a lot of skills, you're going to have to forget about all your other skills for a while. Choose one thing that you lead with. Yeah, music. So of all the things that you can do, start with like one thing. That is where you create your category in. And what will happen is that as you create that category, people will have different objections, right? So an example now, I say, I'll teach you guys how to close. And you guys come in, and like, this closing is amazing, but I don't have leads. Then I'm like, yeah, okay, let me show you how to run ads. Right? And then you say, oh, but I don't have that process to nurture people. And I'll say, here is that process. And then you say, oh, but now I'm growing too much. I don't have a team to close. And I'll say, here's how I build a team. Right? So yes, we do many things, but we always lead with one thing. Right? Because to a lot of people, right, they just need that one thing to solve their problem. Yes, it's always, they say it's like it's not a silver bullet, it's like hundreds of golden bullets, little BB guns, right? But you want to leave one thing as the hook to bring people in, and then your offer, your solution would solve all the other problems that come along. Does that make sense? So this is where, like Janice also say, I can solve eczema, I can solve, bloating, I can solve everything. I'm like, put it all aside. Focus on just eczema. Right? That is how you create your category, by focusing on one thing. It's like Edmund, a property agent, right? He can sell a house, can buy a house, can rent, can do everything. Yes, I know. But just focus on one thing, right? It's not even just people buying a home. It's like people who want to invest, right? So focus on one thing. When I just started out, I created my ads, I created my video. I needed validation. So I would ask my family, my friends, hey, look at my ads, is it good? I can tell you, every one of them will tell me things like, oh, it's too long, nobody will watch this kind of long videos. Your copy is too long, nobody will watch it. Oh, you're too young, nobody will buy from you. You're too expensive, nobody will buy from you. It happens all the time. Good thing I never listened to any of them. Right? So now whatever you do, do not go ask your friends for feedback. They have no clue. Okay, have you guys done your reflection already? Yeah? Okay, now, here's how you design that category. Okay, so I'm guessing you used our AI to create your category. So first thing, to create a category, define the target audience. Who exactly do you want to serve? You want to get specific. Especially if you are under like 500,000, you should really only be choosing one very specific audience and working with them. Okay, define the target audience, and what I mean is like define them by their problem that they want to solve, it could be by their job or their business type. Define them by their income, because you want to know like how much they can pay. You define them by, it could even be the number of kids that they have, right? So get very specific with your target audience. So now, as we are scaling, we broaden a little bit, but at the start, you want to be as targeted as possible. Okay, define your target audience and then decide, what exactly am I going to help them with? Am I going to help them get healthier? Which means, am I going to make them feel better, or am I going to make them feel less pain? Am I going to help them become wealthier? Am I going to help them make more money, or am I going to help them not lose money? So when I was in the Investor in Privacy Ninja, how we managed to beat all our competitions, and do really well online, is that we took Privacy Ninja and we made it a wealth thing. Cybersecurity. Like, people always think they sell cybersecurity as just protect your data, right? For us, it's like, if you don't do this, you're going to get fined by the government, right? So we're going to help you not get fined. So we position it as save money, right? And then ultimately, there's also relationship, where you help people have better relationship with their kids, their spouse, their wives. That's where you can charge, right? So I am mostly in the make money space. Help people make more money, help people grow their business. So wealth for me, right? But some of you guys are in health, you're in wealth. So again, now define a specific problem. If those of you are in health space, go define what is the problem that you're solving. Is it posture? Is it eczema? Is it, I don't know what else is there? Hypertension, high cholesterol, huge market, right? Wealth, there's so many different categories. And the next is, this is very important. Identify a villain. So what you want to do is you want to make people feel like, okay, in this category, you want to get people to hate something. And this is, okay, if you guys watch the pre-training that we sent to you guys, I go a lot deeper into it. But if you look at the greatest category leaders of all time, right? The people who create huge movements, who change the world, I like to call them category leader. They always have a villain. They give somebody something to dislike or to hate, right? So if you think about like Donald Trump. So when Donald Trump was competing in elections, what he did was he would always hate on politicians, right? He would say like, I'm a businessman, I don't need anybody's money. You can lobby a politician, but you can't lobby me. Nobody knows about lobbying than I do, right? So he got people to say that politicians are bad, and so if you want to grow the country, you need somebody who's not a politician, which is himself, right? If you think about Jesus, what was his category villain at the time? Do you guys know? Any Christians here? You know what? Who was the one group of people that he was constantly condemning? The Pharisees, right? It's like he would piss them off, right? And he would always he said like, you who are without sin, cast the first stone. And what was he doing? He was getting them to say like, this is like following the 10 commandments, the law. These people who are holier than thou, these are not people that we want to be, right? And then he introduced something new, a new category, which is salvation by faith, right? So he had a core villain, and then he had a new category. Okay, that's what you guys want to do. So for Janice, what was a core villain? Steroids, right? Because, like for example, I know that my younger sisters have eczema, and every time they're itching, they want to die, and they want to put some steroids. My mom was like, no, do not use the steroids. It's going to make everything worse. So we know that there's a group of people out there who hate steroids. So we're going to jump on this bandwagon with them and tell them, yeah, steroids are not good. Right? So we give them something to dislike. And like for Edmund, how do we create a category? We get people to dislike the idea of staying in the new launch as a home, right? We say it's small as hell. Why would you buy it as a home? You buy it as an investment, right? So we want to give people a category. Okay, so you identify the category and the current villains. What are the things that people are currently doing that either they may not like or they may not feel that they're getting a lot of results, right? And you want to make that known. You want to make that pain felt. And you want to be standing against it. Okay, then you find a problem. So what is the problem with these categories, right? So just now with Donald Trump, we said if you get a politician, they can be lobbied because they need money. And now he's getting lobbied himself, right? But anyway, what he does is define a problem and say what's wrong with them, right? The Pharisees, what's wrong with them? They are themselves so sinful, right? That is a problem, and yet they try to enforce the law. With Janice, the problem with steroids is that it's a recurring issue, right? So you put eczema, you get better for a while, it comes back, right? So always find the problem. For GPTS, what we did, the problem was the enemy we made was becoming a trainer, because trainers are paid by the hour or by the day. That's not good. So as a speaker, you get paid $10,000 in 45-minute speech, right? So we find that category, we put it down, and we explain why. Now, this is important. You do not put down your competition. You do not go and say like, this chiropractor, he sucks. That is not how you break a category, right? Like you want to talk about the method, and you want to talk about why it's not good. Does that make sense to you guys? So that's how you create a category. In order for you to create a new category, you must always find an old category and then disrupt that. Right? Again, we send the training to you guys. If you watch the pre-training, you understand more of what I'm saying. Then you create a new category, a subcategory. Right? A new category would be like get paid to speak. No one else is doing it. And a subcategory would be like for property and insurance agents. Unfortunately, you guys can't create anything new. But you can create a subcategory. A subcategory is where you take it and you serve a different audience, right? So for Janice, it's like gut health is not new, so we take it and we position as gut health for eczema, right? Subcategory. For insurance, what we did with one of our clients was we took what he did, and instead of just portfolio review, because if you speak to any insurance person, this is what they're guaranteed to tell you. I do holistic financial planning. I have never met one agent that say, I don't really do holistic planning. I just do the investment because that's where I make the most money. They don't say that, right? They say, I do holistic planning. And so, or I do a review, I do portfolio review. So we found a category, a subcategory, which is advisors, or rather clients whose advisors have left the industry. So now they got nobody. And now we say, okay, we solve that problem for just this small group of people. If you have a bunch of policy, nobody's servicing you, come and talk to me, I help you. Right, so now we created a new category, a new subcategory. Does that make sense to you guys? So in every single industry, there's always an opportunity to create a new category. Right? It's obviously, but you got to have the skill to create that. Right? And finally, you have a point of view on why that is not good. Why does that not work? Right? So the point of view is how you see the problem. Right? So eczema cream is not good. If you solve the skin, you're doing a temporary solution. Right? Whereas if you fix your gut, now you change how your body reacts, and that's where you have a long-term solution. Okay, so your point of view, why is the world different from you? Why do you see the problem differently? And then you have a category statement. So what is a category statement? This is where you got to have one thing, right? So if you think about every successful category, now or in the past, even in history, they all have one thing that they stand for. So an example is for Janice, how she would say it is this. The only way to cure eczema in the long term is by fixing your gut. And the way to fix your gut is through, I can't remember what her program is called, like some eczema health thing, right? So the only way to solve the problem is the gut, and the only way to fix your gut is through what I sell. That is your category statement. If you think about for GPTS, so the way to make money, or the only way to monetize your expertise is to become a professional speaker, right? It's not to become a corporate trainer, it's not to become a coach, it's to become a professional speaker, right? So the marketing, the category. And the only way to become a professional speaker is by learning how to get paid to speak, right? So Yes, Eric can talk to you about niche, he can talk to you about how to do well in communications, but we don't put that when we market, because then we'll be diluting our category. So all of you guys here, if you really want to be able to scale your marketing, you want to be known for something, you need to have one thing that you can stand for. What is that one thing I do? So I have a lot of things. After a while, I decided when I market, I'm going to put aside everything. The one call close is it. Right? So now I walk down the streets, people are like, oh, you're the one call close guy. Right? If somebody, like, well, if I work with Caleb, what's going to happen? Is he going to help me with this or that? They know I'm going to help them with their closing. Right? So they can get more people to close. They know what's the one thing that I stand for. Now, if you are somebody that you do a lot of things, you can do everything. Sure, but when you market and you start aggressively putting it out there, you want to have one thing you can be known for. Does that make sense? Yeah? So the next step is you evangelize. Now, evangelizing, you've got your free ways, which is the content. You could try to go viral. But a lot of times, viral content doesn't really get sales, right? Because it ends up you having to do stupid things online to get the attention. I mean, so there are different ways to evangelize. One, you can do content, which I don't think is a bad way, which I like, right? But it has its constraints. Then you've got your advertising, right? You can run ads, which is something that you can control the most. And you can do events like this. This is where I'm evangelizing the one call close. You could write a book, right? There's all the different things that you can do. Now, why do I say like content is difficult? Is because a lot of times when you do good content that can actually convert clients for you, your views are not going to be very high. If you look at the people who go viral, they're doing stupid things online. And yeah, that gets a lot of attention, but what is branding? Branding is association, right? When people look at you, do they feel like, I want to be like you, I want to work with you. So if you do stupid things to get the views, and then people end up not wanting to work with you, how is that good for the brand? Right? So I'd rather, especially when you're smaller, why don't I just pay for the ads so that I can be very focused with what I want to say? I can sell my expertise, I don't have to do anything stupid, and I just pay Facebook to bring me the clients. Right? So if you guys are, under $1 million or under $500,000, yeah, sure, a personal brand could work, but that is like a side project. Because it is going to be very difficult to really consistently get clients through your Instagram. Right? I mean, it could work. Right? Some people are really great at getting attention, but it's a very different skill. Right? So you got to choose, like at this point, now there's so many things that you can do to evangelize. There is no wrong way, but what is that one thing you want to do? How you want to evangelize? Right? For me, I want to evangelize by running ads because it's predictable. I can just go out there and buy my clients. And you guys want to decide how you want to do it, right? Is it going to be through events? So Josephine did it through events and webinars. Some of you guys will be evangelizing through ads, get people on a one-on-one call. Like, you got to decide what is that strategy that you want to use to evangelize. Okay, don't do everything. You can't do everything. Right, and then eventually you dominate. Okay, so would you guys like to have the same AI tool that Josephine used to figure out her new category, which made her $100,000 on the first try? Would you guys like to have it? Would you guys like to have it? Say yes. Okay, so it's going to be $997 because I charged too low. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, you guys can have it. So go ahead and scan this link, and you will get access to the Category Kings GPT. Okay, so go ahead and scan it, and you either use it on your laptop. So this is now, in the past, how all these categories that I mentioned were created was me having a one-on-one conversation. Right, so I'll speak to Eric, I'll understand what his point of view, what is the problem he solves, what he wants to bring about, and then I'll have to think about a sexy name, right? Like, get paid to speak. And same for Janice. And after a while, I was like, how do I help more people at scale so that even if I don't speak to them one-on-one, they can create their own category and get results, right? And that is why I took my entire knowledge, every question that I would ask you if you were in a one-on-one call with me, is going to be asked by this GPT, and it will help you to figure out what is the category that you can work with.